What up, infidels? Welcome back to another Dangerous Brown. Here again this week. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll notice I am outside. I recorded outside of my mom once, and I was like, you know what? Maybe it's time to go back out here. It just feels nice to be out here talking, letting my brain flow with the fresh air. Also, if you're watching, you notice I have this jersey on. I used to be your boy used to be in a co-ed comedian slow pitch softball league, and your boy is a 3-time champion in that league. Starting pitcher, most strikeouts, probably for any pitcher in that league for sure. I struck out at least 2 people a game, which is pretty solid for slow pitch underhand toss. You know what I mean? I did my thing. I don't want to brag, but I'm gonna brag. I would say, the Madison Bumgarner of that league, man. Where you could light me up in the regular season sometimes, I was still good. But when that playoffs came, bro, I killed that shit. I miss it. I miss the comedian. The comedians league was a fun league. It was a good league. But yeah, this is my jersey for that team. For the team I was on, they were called the Stool Humpers, and it's just the best jersey I like. This is one of the best jerseys of all time, I think. I'll put this up against like the 49ers all whites, or like the classic Patriots jersey. Jersey is great. It's pink and white and black, and it's got an otter humping a stool. I don't know if you could see. I can't really tell how clear I am in the camera, but as far as jerseys go, this was a top-notch jersey. And I don't get to wear it often, because I don't play slow pitch softball regularly anymore. I wonder if those leagues still exist in like California. I wouldn't want to play. Hell no. Everyone's sweating and grabbing the ball. There's no way I would play that right now. But yeah, I totally can see my neighbor from out here. I had no idea that this was going to be a thing. This is going to look so weird to her. I look fucking crazy. I look crazy. I'm alone in a softball jersey speaking into a microphone and a camera. Jesus Christ, how crazy do I look? Oh God, I'm sorry. I'm disturbing your phone call. She went back inside. Of course she did, because this would be annoying. This would just like be weird to see, huh? Kind of annoying. Give me 1 second. Keep yourselves entertained for 1 second. I gotta close the door inside my house, so I'll be back in 1 second. And I'm back. Am I gonna cut that? Hell no, I'm not gonna cut that. Because we go live. I wonder if you can hear the wind. Anyways, I'll figure this out all in post. But yeah, I'm excited. A lot of interesting things happened this week. Well, this happened. The one thing I want to talk about first happened last week, because I just forgot to mention it, and I didn't quite watch it. I'm talking about Bill Burr's. I'm talking about Bill Burr's SNL monologue. I watched it finally. The big trending things like that, I tend to wait like a week or so to watch, just so I can I'm very influenced by hype, and so I try to stay away. I try to like just take a step away from the hype so I can come up with my own sort of look on it. And it's funny that people were mad about that. Like, it's funny that white women were mad about what he said, especially on like Twitter and TikTok. They were mad, and they're the ones who needed to hear what he had to say. Really, cause white women, y'all are on some shit right now, dude. White women, y'all are on one. It is like they do like, and I agree with him. They do like, what's the best way to put this? White people just in general are sort of the masters of victim mentality, in my mind, for sure. I mean, the prime example would be the Charlottesville Protest. I mean, think about that. The Charlottesville Protest had a bunch of white nationalists / white nationalist adjacent people chanting, "You will not replace us." They were chanting, "You will not replace us," while at the same time the Republicans had control of the House, Senate, and the presidency. Hey, clearly, no one is trying to replace you. You have just made up this boogeyman in your head of trying to be replaced, and you held a rally. Yo, the Charlottesville rally was gayer than any pride rally that's ever existed. I'm sorry if that's derogatory, but it's true. You will not replace us when you control everything? Jesus, how little dick energy is that, honestly? Believe in yourself a little bit, huh? If I was a white supremacist during the in Charlottesville at the time, I would stay home being like, oh, wow, things are kind of going good for us right now. There's a lot of wins going on for Team Confederate. And that's my take on the Charlottesville rally 4 years too late. Because, goddamn, someone needed to say it, and they probably have 1,000 times, and I'm probably not saying anything new with what I'm saying. But the point being, bring it back to Bill Burr, that's why, people are mad at him, because they have this weird, white woman, he can't say that about us, things are hard for us. It's like, yeah, I guess things are not as hard for you guys, not as hard, it's not as easy for you as white dudes, in the term of social hierarchy, but you're still second. It's still second, and it's crazy that and he's right, it's crazy that you hijack the conversation to make it about you, because it's not about you. This race for equality is a bit about you, but it's not all about you. And that's the thing, they make it all about them. That's how it feels from an outsider looking in, from a brown dude just sort of watching how pop culture is sort of forming. That's how it feels. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm being a victim, being a bit of a victim mentality type person, but I'm not saying I'm a victim here. I'm not saying, oh, these white women are going to replace me. I'm like, no, I'm just saying Bill Burr is right. They've skipped to the front of the line. Dave Chappelle said it best. It's like, you were part of the heist. You didn't enjoy the take. Now, I'm not black, but y'all white women do a bunch of oppressing, for sure. It's crazy. Just all this stuff got me looking into just the lines we've been fed about quote unquote feminism. And look, I say that because this is what I mean. I looked up the female wage gap. You know how they say 77 cents to $1? And it turns out that's a lie. Well, all right. Let me backtrack a little bit. I'm not about to go on some anti-feminist rant. I'm not a virgin. That's not about to happen, right? But the female wage gap maybe is not a lie, but it's not the whole truth. The whole truth is that it's 77 cents on the dollar for a white woman. A white woman makes 77 cents on the dollar that every dollar a white man makes. But if you're a black man, you make 73 cents on the dollar. If you're a black woman, you make 65 cents on the dollar. If you're a Hispanic man, you make something like 62 cents. I didn't quite write that one down. And if you're a Hispanic woman, you make 58 cents on the dollar. Those are the real stats. And you might be thinking, Hassan, thank you for pointing out the discrepancies in the different races. But the point being the same, there is these discrepancies. What do you say we do to fix them? And I say we do nothing. We do nothing. Because I am an Asian man, and I make $1.17 for every dollar a white man makes. So, maybe the system isn't broken. Maybe it's working just fine. At least from my perspective, things are going pretty good. But no, there is this race discrepancy, and you never hear that. You only hear the 77 cents on the dollar. You only hear the white woman statistic. They never push the other statistics. And, There's many theories as to why, but what comes to my mind is at the end of the day, white women they don't care about other races, man, and it's okay. That's how most races work. The race in power doesn't really care about the lesser races, but it's also the truth. If they really truly cared, they would bring up all these stats, but no, they stop at them. They stop at them. I always say this to I've met a fair amount of brown girls that are follow the white girls into battle, so and so on the internet, and I always tell them that when the chips are down, they're not going to be on your side, brown ladies. They're just not. It's not how that works. They're called white women. They're white first. They're not called women whites. Don't forget that, brown ladies. When the chips are down, they ain't on your side. That being said, I think, I am speaking generally. White women, y'all are awesome, especially the ones that decide to sleep with me. Thank you for doing the Lord's work. Because God knows I need help. Yeah. I mean, it's just my whole life I was like, oh, it's 77 cents for a woman for a man, which, is bad. But then the more you look into it, the more I'm like, oh, they're not feeding you the other information, which makes me think that if they got this, if white women got their extra 33 cents, they wouldn't fight for the rest of you to get your money. And that's the truth. They would be like, oh, we're done. The fight's over. Equality achieved. Thumbs up. I'm doing a lot of thumbs up this episode. Thumbs up on the equality, We did a good job. I look ridiculous in a straight up uniform. But hey, I wanted to rep the Stool Humpers. We won 3 in a row. The core of the team. We switched team names all 3 years. But we won 3 in a row. And we did it. Good hitting. Good fielding. Good pitching. We were awesome. And I missed the Stool Humpers. We were so good that the league consolidated 2 of their teams into one team our 4th year, and they made basically what I would like to describe as a super team to beat us. They took all the best players from the 2 teams and combined them, and then brought in some players who hadn't played in a minute but were still really good and brought them back so that they could beat us. We were way too good, man. We were way too good. Stool Humpers for life, baby. Go Otters. Go Otters humping stools. It's crazy. I heard Dexter might be coming back, or Dexter's supposed to. First of all, I've said this before. Stop bringing everything back. My God. Just have a new idea, please. Please. I've lived in Hollywood for 5 years. There are plenty of people with new ideas. Give them a shot, huh? Just take a chance. My God, you bring Dexter back? Also, Dexter, and this might be a hot take, was never good. Dexter was never good. I'll say it right here, right now. I know it became bad, and people are like, you should see how, it ended bad. That's what you mean, right? No, I said, I watched the first 2 seasons, and those 2 seasons were trash. The only reason why people like Dexter is because the idea and the premise is interesting. A serial killer who kills serial killers, that's awesome. That hits on 2 sort of things that really resonate with the American psyche for some reason. Serial killers, people love those. True crime podcasts and true crime, just everything is abundant. There's a forensic files playing in a hotel somewhere right now. And justice. Idea is good. Actual execution of that premise, so bad. So bad. And I'm about to go through a list of reasons why. I did have them written down here, but I also wanted to look this up because I could be wrong about this. But Dexter. Let me look this up. I'm pretty sure that Michael C. Hall, the guy who played Dexter, was married. Yeah, the guy who played Dexter got married to the guy who played his sister on the show. Look, I know they're just acting. When did Dexter start? Because they got married in 2008. I wanna see this. I'm very curious now. Michael C. Hall. Jesus Christ. Now my phone. So Dexter started. So they started the show. They weren't married. They got married during the show. So you get married to the guy. There is just something so weird about that, right? I don't know what it is because it's not wrong, but it feels wrong. It feels more wrong than all like the weird step sibling porn that's out there. Cause that is 100% like, oh, this is just like a weird fantasy that they're playing on, and realize they can make a bunch of money and gets a lot of views on Pornhub. This is like real. You real life married the lady who plays your sister. There's something weird about that, right? I can't put my finger on what's wrong about that, but I wouldn't describe that as a normal thing to do. Also, I guess unless you're a great actor, you can hide those sort of emotions and the chemistry between you, but that's got to be a weird sort of energy, right, in between you guys? That, like, you're married, but she's also playing your sister? There's some weird kink stuff involved in that. That's not, I guess I don't mean the kink shame, but I guess, but it is off. And it's not like she's a great actor. She wasn't a good actor. That's the thing. Except for Dexter, none of them were, like, overly great actors. They were all like okay. The dialogue in Dexter. Oh, the dialogue. Every single episode seemed like everyone's first draft dialogue-wise. If you go back and just watch the first season, you'd be like, oh damn, people don't really talk to each other like that. There's nothing realistic about it. The sister says fuck so much, and like I curse a lot, you know, but like she says it in a way that's like, oh my God. No one who curses a lot would curse like that. She's just putting it in place. She's just putting curses in places where curses don't belong. I couldn't even mimic it. It's so unnatural. It's one of those things that's so unnatural that even if I said it, it wouldn't be believable almost. Like I can't even begin to try to mimic how bad the placement of her curses are. And to the point where I noticed it immediately. Also, I'm just going to break down from what I remember of the first season on why it was bad. Also, the mystery was... I love mysteries. I'm watching a BBC mystery right now. I love BBC mysteries because they're dark and entertaining. And I don't quite know who the killer is, right? And the reason I love mysteries is I'm pretty bad at figuring them out. I'm not the best at figuring out mysteries, you know? I like it because the ride it takes me on. Dexter, first season, I knew who the killer was the first second he popped on screen. I was like, wow, you guys just... Like, because they try to leave clues, but the clues were so obvious, right? So they find the body. There's like a body, right? And it's like, I think in an empty out swimming pool or somewhere. I don't know. And the body is cut up like a butcher cuts a cow to sell you. You know, like surgically. That's the best. The body is cut up surgically, right? And they talk about how all these precise cuts the body has. The detectives. And the detectives are like, yeah, who could cut this precisely? It's maybe some kind of butcher. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, it's also a surgeon, right? Someone should say surgeon on the show. Like, but they only stop at butcher, and then the next scene, you see a surgeon, and you're like, oh, that must be the killer. Because the detectives didn't mention surgeon for some reason, even though it was obvious, it was clear that this guy had some kind of medical training. And then the next scene, they show a doctor. Clearly the killer. Clearly the killer. It's not even a trail of breadcrumbs leading to the killer. He might as well wore a sign that said a killer. Also, so the killer at the beginning has an ice truck in which he's disposing of the bodies, right? And then you find out that the killer later has a freezer at home where he can kill the bodies without using the ice truck, which begs to differ. Why would he even have the ice truck to begin with if he has his own state-of-the-art walk-in freezer where he kills people? Unless, I guess, he's trying to toy with the cops, then maybe. But it just seems like redundant to have an ice truck then. Also, dude, the state-of-the-art freezer, which he murders people, is in his apartment. And he is dating the police detective who is Dexter's sister wife. So Dexter's sister wife goes to his apartment and they, have sex and stuff because they are dating. And I'm pretty sure he asked her to marry her at some point. I could be wrong about that. And she doesn't notice the walk-in freezer that has murder victims in it. And it's not like it's hidden. There's on the door to the freezer next to his fridge where he keeps his murder victim, there's a straight up little window. So you can actually see in and see the murder victim while you're inside the kitchen, and she somehow doesn't see any of it. I don't know. Maybe because her head is spinning from being somebody's sister wife. How she doesn't put it together is beyond me. Also, there is this weird backstory. So you find out Dexter's mom is murdered by like some Cuban cartel or Mexican cartel. I think they're in Florida, so some Cuban cartel, right? And Dexter witnesses the murder. And he witnesses the murder because his sister, oh my God, his mom, my bad, I'm so confused with his sister wife, sorry. That I get confused that his mom isn't related to him. Maybe. Maybe his mom is played by his first wife, But you find out that Dexter's mom gets murdered in a shipping container, and Dexter, as a baby, witnesses all this. Like, he's covered in her blood. Now, if I'm a mother, and I'm meeting some cartel guy, and our meeting place is a shipping container, I am not going to bring along my toddler to a shipping container to meet a cartel guy. Because, obviously, even if I was a bad mom, I wouldn't bring my toddler to a shipping container. Because if I was a bad mom, I'd be like, oh, I don't want my little shit kid who's going to have a sister wife one day to mess up this business deal. So I'm going to leave him at home alone with no babysitter because I'm a bad mom. A good mom would get a babysitter for her kids and meet the cartel guy. A mom that has no basis in reality would bring her toddler to the shipping container. Also, so you find out that the doctor, by the way, if I'm spoiling Dexter Season 1 for you, I'm sorry, but hey, you had your chance, So, you find out that the doctor who ends up being the killer is also Dexter's secret long-lost brother, and you find out through the flashback that his mom brought Dexter and the brother to the shipping container. So they both witnessed their mom getting murdered. They both were covered in blood. The cartel guy just leaves the kids in the shipping container alive, which is something the cartel wouldn't do. They would definitely murder those kids because they don't care. You don't become a ruthless cartel guy by being like, oh, I have a conscience in this moment. No, you kill the kid just in case they remember something when they're older. And their mom, like an idiot, brought them to the shipping container. Right? So, you find out that Dexter and his brother are sitting in a shipping container covered with blood. Now, the cop that finds them is like Dexter's dad in the show, and he's the cop that adopts Dexter. Picks up Dexter from the blood and is like, oh, this poor kid. Sees his brother, the killer of season 1, and goes, that kid looks evil. I'm going to leave him sitting in his mother's blood while I take Dexter away so he can get married to his sister one day. Hey, what cop is going to leave one kid covered in the blood of his mother while taking the other kid? It makes 0 sense. Dexter is not a good show. If you like it, I don't blame you. Because the guy who plays Dexter, Michael C. Hall, is dope. He's a good actor. And 2, the premise is so unique and so something you want to be amazing that of course you're going to give it a shot. But you're wrong. Dexter is a bad show. And it doesn't need to come back. Did he end up as a lumberjack? What are they going to do with the remake? He's going to be lumberjacking? And then go back to killing? I mean, he's a serial killer. He has to start killing again. They can't just turn it off and become a lumberjack. That's not how that works. It's a compulsion. It's like more than just a job. You don't kill people because it's... Well, I guess if you're a hitman. But no, Dexter has like serial killer tendencies. He like keeps a slide. He keeps trophies of his victims. He has a method. He's not like a hitman. So yeah, you don't need to be bringing that back. All right. Last thing I want to talk about. I wrote this out, but I don't know if it's gonna sound too forced. So I'm gonna use what I wrote out as a template. I have a notebook, guys. I have a notebook. This is now my Dangerous Brown notebook. I used to just keep my Dangerous Brown stuff in my notebook with my jokes, but I got a new notebook just for you guys, just for the sleeper cell, because we're growing, man. We're growing slowly but surely. We used to have 4, now we have like 10 infidels. Excuse me, I realize I burp into the camera a lot. That must sound gross, but sorry, not sorry. All right, so this is what I wrote down. I did some shows in Sacramento last week, and I stayed in a hotel. And I was watching TV in the hotel room, and I stopped on one of the many news channels. It was called Bloomberg. And they were interviewing the CEO of Epic Games, the people who make Fortnite. I'm just going to call him the CEO of Fortnite. And the interviewer clearly didn't know what she was talking about, because she was just mispronouncing words that, like, oh, okay, if you did any of your research, you wouldn't be mispronouncing words. But she was interviewing them on a case that Fortnite is bringing against Apple and Google, and it made me realize that, like, in terms of just how crazy history is, you could say that Fortnite and Teddy Roosevelt are on the same side of history. It's a weird pairing, and to really understand how they're on the same side of history, we got to take a step back. We got to go back to 1890. So pretend it's 1890, and pretend you're a crusty old white senator named John Sherman. He's the guy who gets this all started. So you're John Sherman, and this is 1890, and you look around at post-Civil War America, this industrial powerhouse that's coming up, and there's railroads and oil refineries, and you notice that there's this new class of wealth that has appeared in America in the last 20 years, and it's concerning there's a plane going by, but there's this new class of wealth, these multi-millionaires. Crazy, right? $1 million is a lot. Now there's people with multiple millions. Oh God, this must be the pinnacle of wealth. People like Cornelius Vanderbilt, J.P. Morgan. Give me another one. Andrew Carnegie. And the one we're kind of gonna be focusing on and talking about a little bit, John D. Rockefeller. Just a murderer's row of Scrooge McDucks. You know. And these people have these massive corporate businesses. John D. Rockefeller, Standard Oil. Andrew Carnegie has whatever his steel company's name is. You know? And you notice that their business practices are a little bit off. See, what's happening right now is they're forming these big companies called corporate trusts. And how that works, but before I go on, I should just mention, I don't know dick about business, right? So if I'm wrong, please correct me, or if you guys have any information about any additional information about anything I say, please add it in the comments. Any corrections, just I love to learn, right? And I have no problem being wrong about this stuff. But this is how I see it. So what a trust is a smaller company will give control of their stock to a trustee who is usually working for a larger company. So, for example, 77 oil companies gave their stock to John D. Rockefeller at Standard Oil. So at its height, Standard Oil controlled 90% of the nation's oil productions. So just destroying competition. The mom and pop oil refinery is gone. Your local neighborhood oil refinery, gone. It's all Standard Oil, right? Now, this is not necessarily a bad thing, but if you're John Sherman, you notice what they're doing. They're undercutting their competitors. They're creating a monopoly. They're creating a situation in which competitors can't exist because they undercut them, use business tactics, whatever business tactics, to kill them off. And so you write a law, the Sherman Antitrust Act of 1890. And that law is built to break up these trusts, these corporate monopolies, who commit these, as he quotes, anti-competitive business practices. And yeah, there is that sort of... It also, the Sherman Antitrust Act was used to send militias and violently take down anybody who striked, like to fight strikers. Militias were used, like National Guardsmen were used, and they used it under the powers granted them under the Sherman Antitrust Law Act, or whatever it's called, Antitrust Law, Antitrust Act, whatever. And that's a whole can of worms for a different day, you know. But the main purpose was to break up these trusts. And from what I could tell, these trusts were a big problem. There's this great political ad. I'm going to see if I can find it to put it up. But it's an ad where it shows Standard Oil as an octopus, and its tentacles just grabbing and controlling everything. And controlled politics. It controlled the newspapers. It controlled other industries. You know, there's something called vertical integration, where there's two types of integration in businesses. There's horizontal integration. So if you're an oil refinery, you control all the oil refineries, right? That's horizontal integration. And there's something called vertical integration. So Andrew Carnegie did this a lot, where he controlled all the steel, but then he controlled also all the raw materials for the steel, and he controlled how the steel was transported via the railroads, and he controlled that aspect of the business. So there's two types of integration, right? And from what I could tell, Standard Oil was horizontally integrated. It controlled all the oil. Like 90% is all the oil, you know? And when you have this sort of monopoly, it's bad for consumers, right? Because now Standard Oil can set the price for anything it wants. Anything, you know? There's no competition to keep it at a fair price. So if it wants to overcharge the consumer, there's nothing stopping it. You know? You sort of kind of see that with, like, I don't know a lot about OPEC, but it seems like they control the prices of oil, and a lot of the world's oil pricing are based on how they feel on the whim. It's sort of like that. So Rockefeller has crazy control. And Sherman writes the Antitrust Act of 1890. And Teddy Roosevelt takes that act when he's president and just starts swinging for the fences. He's one of his you know, sort of claims to fame, or things that he liked claiming, is that he was a trust buster. I believe at their height, there were 318 trusts in America, and Roosevelt broke up 45 of them. He was all about it, dude. That's the thing about Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt loved all the smoke. He was an all the smoke type guy, dude. Fight. He wanted to fight, and he was a big personality, and he sort of helped bring America onto to make America an empire. I would say he really brought out the imperialistic side of America. He used to say about Latin America, speak softly and carry a big stick. He liked control, and he liked to fight. And he fought these companies, man. 45. William Howard Taft, America's most body positive president, broke up 65. So there was in that whole era, there was this whole trust busting era, and just to give you an idea of how big these companies are, these are the companies. So they broke up Standard Oil. They broke up that. These are the companies that Standard Oil broke off into. Standard Oil became Marathon Gas, BP, ExxonMobil, and Chevron. That's how massive Standard Oil was. Think about how powerful those companies are on their own. And then imagine them combined into one. And then get this. The four that I mentioned were one of 34 companies Standard Oil was split up into. If you thought corporate control of Congress was bad now, I would have to read up more on it, and maybe someone listening could know and tell me in the comments, but it seemed like corruption in this area this time in American history, was just as bad, if not worse. You're telling me all these powerful gas companies were combined into one? That seems almost impossible to break, and it would take someone with the bombastic characteristics of Teddy Roosevelt to break them up. So now, what does this have to do with Fortnite? Well, Fortnite is suing both Apple and Google, saying that they are being anti-competitive for having anti-competitive business practices. They are trying to use what started off in 1890 with the Sherman Antitrust Act to attack Apple and Google. Now, they're suing them because Fortnite wants to be able to sell you stuff directly. So right now, when Fortnite's app is not on the App Store anymore because Google and Apple took it down, right? But when it was, Fortnite offered an option for you to. So when you buy stuff through an app, Apple gets 30% of the cut of whatever they buy. For whatever app, Apple gets 30%. So Fortnite found a way to circumnavigate that and said, hey, just buy directly from us, it'll be cheaper. Apple was like, nope, not having it, took their stuff down off the App Store. And Fortnite itself wanted to build its own App Store for their own games, Epic Games, outside of the Apple App Store. And Apple was like, we're not having it. Any app has to come through us. We get 30% of every sale you make. And so, Apple got sued. And, I didn't research how it's going. I asked one of my friends who kind of knows about this stuff, because sometimes you can't research stuff. You just have to ask your friend who kind of knows about stuff. You know what I mean? And even if they're wrong, something about their feeling is correct. And that's just as valuable as researching sometimes, And so I asked him, he said Fortnite's probably going to lose. It seems like Fortnite's probably going to lose. But this could be an era where we start to seeing these big companies go down. I mean, literally just today, I plan to do this episode for a week. Literally just today, the DOJ brought an antitrust lawsuit to Google for their monopolization of search engines. And how everything you buy almost comes exclusively with the Google search engine. And the Google search engine is about like 90% of all phone searches uses the Google search engine. 80% of all desktop searches uses the Google search engine. And the Department of Justice just brought an Antitrust Act to them today. So we might be seeing a sort of revival of the spirit of Teddy Roosevelt right now, where someone is finally sort of going after these big tech companies. And they've been broken up before. Microsoft lost a big antitrust suit back in 1998 for trying to stifle companies like Netflix. Because if you remember, there was a time where you could only use Internet Explorer for a short amount of time because that was Microsoft's browser. And they got hit with an antitrust suit and lost. And now you're seeing these even bigger tech giants starting to be hit by them. Look, they might not, Fortnite and the Department of Justice might not win their lawsuits, but it is a mark of an era. And eventually, look, all companies fall. All companies break up. No company is forever, really. Very rare. Like, the fact that Nintendo's been around since the 1800s is mind-blowing. That they've been able to stay a company, starting with playing cards to what they are now. They did a good job of staying alive, but they're going to fall eventually. They all do. Apple is worth $2 trillion right now. All right, this is an example of how big companies can fall. Apple is worth $2 trillion right now. At one time, the Dutch East India Trading Company was worth almost $8 trillion. Adjusted for inflation, of course. $8 trillion. But they don't exist anymore. When was the last time you threw tea into a harbor? You know? And the Dutch East India Trading Company had a monopoly on maritime trading from the Dutch government. They were given an approved monopoly, and even still they broke up. So these big companies, Apple, Google, Facebook, one day they are going to fall. Maybe we're just seeing the start of that. Or maybe not. Who knows? I guess we'll find out. But, I think they have a little bit of a good run left in them. But, there's going to be a time. There's going to be a time when these companies will be a thing of the past in history books. Amazon is another one that I think that's people are looking to antitrust lawsuits with. It's Teddy Roosevelt time in America again. And I think Fortnite should find a way to honor Teddy for their fight. Find a way to maybe a Teddy Roosevelt skin. Maybe a dance where he's beating up a Latin American with a stick. Just something. Something to show the guy that, like, hey, we're on the same side of history, funnily enough. That's all I have for this week, guys. Thank you, infidels, for listening. Please, like I said this before, I believe in this. I believe in what we're doing here. Tell your friends. Subscribe to this on YouTube. Subscribe to it on Spotify or however you listen to it. iTunes, Google Podcast Place. Leave a review, please, for me on iTunes. Just help the sleeper cell grow, because I think we got something here, guys. I'll see you next week.